I didn't love the mouse that Jack built, but I'm not sure it's the cartoon's fault. I also didn't hate it, which I think is important to point out. This is a 1959 Warner Brothers cartoon directed by Robert McKimson, written by Ted Pierce, and this parodies the Jack Benny program. And I'll be honest, I know nothing about that, so I didn't understand any of the parodies. But I think it's very obvious which characters, where there are certain characters, and you can just tell they're a parody of something because they have personalities that are completely unlike any other Warner Brothers characters. So the parody aspects I feel are obvious, but a lot of it kind of went over my head. And it's interesting to watch cartoons like this when I don't have any of the context, because it's fascinating to see if it stands up in its own right. And actually, once it got going, I didn't mind it, and I thought the Kit Kat Club, kind of the design of that, I thought was very effective and quite cleverly done. And what happened with that and that part of the narrative I quite liked. And I can't say too much more about that without giving away any spoilers. But it's about these mice who go out to dinner at a restaurant and things don't exactly go to plan. And obviously we have a parody of Jack Benny and various other individuals. And honestly, I cannot provide context. I don't really know that much about Jack Benny. Apparently, Jack Benny did actually provide the voice. In fact, I think everybody provided the voice. Mary Livingstone as Mary, Eddie Rochester Anderson as Rochester, and Don Wilson as Don. We also have Mel Blanc voicing the other characters. The fact that the actors are actually parodying their own TV personas, I think is kind of cool. And I think if this had been, a parody of a TV show I knew anything about, and the actual people involved in it were doing the voices of those characters, that would have been kind of awesome. So I can definitely see why this would have been well received, because the parodies seem to be, well, I assume, pretty spot on. And the actual narrative, once it gets going, it took a good minute or two for me to kind of get into it. But once I did, I actually thought, yeah, this is pretty decent. It's a good narrative with an interesting concept. So, yeah, I didn't love it as much as some people might. I'd be very keen to know what you think of it if you're aware of the Jack Benny show and have more of a context for the caricatures or the parodies. But on its own, I don't know. I didn't love it completely, but had I not known this was a parody and didn't really know that, I would have thought, yeah, I understand it, I follow it. There are definitely things that probably went over my head, but for the most part, it's definitely not bad.